All right, welcome to our first video for Tech 4472. This will be going over our view controls. This is going to be talking about how to orient our object, our model, maybe change the views a little bit so that we can correctly model whatever we're trying to design. Might seem like something that's not important, but knowing how to manipulate your views is really critical to some of the things that we're going to be doing. And it makes your life a lot easier if you just learn it now. That way you're not struggling later on with this stuff. Let's go ahead and get started. First thing that you need to do is download and open up the view controls part file that's on Canvas. And then every time that we open up NX, we're going to have to do a couple of things. One of them is we need to change our role. The role is default. So if you come down to the file, roles, yours will say role default. This is roles that we are in. We need to go to content and then change it to role advanced. I'll ask you if you're sure. Hit yes. Now we are in the advanced role. This gives us access to more features up here. So while we're over here, let's go ahead and look at another feature, Part Navigator. The Part Navigator is the timeline of how our part was created. So we started with a sketch, we extruded it, another sketch, revolved that. Everything that you do as far as the creation of the model is stored in the Part Navigator. That's a pretty important thing to know. So now let's talk about moving your model, orienting it in the three-dimensional space here. So first thing that we're going to look at is how to zoom in and out. So zooming in and out is you just scroll your mouse wheel. Same way that you would scroll up and down a page. Wherever I point this cursor is where I'm going to be zooming in and out. So if I wanted to zoom in or out from the center of the circle, I could zoom out, zoom in. And then if I wanted to go to this edge, I could scroll into this edge. Now, if I wanted to orbit this or rotate this model, I'm going to push down on the mouse wheel. So I'm not scrolling, I'm actually pushing down on it. And then I'm going to move my mouse around. So I'm rotating it around. Takes a little bit of getting used to as to, which direction you need to be going into, things like that. Just take some practice. So next we can look at how to pan our model. So we're going to push down our mouse wheel and then push down on the right button of our mouse. So we do both of those things at the same time. So you can push down the mouse wheel and then push down on the right button on the mouse. Just make sure that you're pushing down both at the same time. Now you can pan this around. Now I'm going to let go of the right button and now I can orbit and I'm going to push back down on the right button and I can pan. So you can use these in tandem to really orient your model exactly how you need to. Sometimes we'll need to position into some different views. So like if I'm trying to see what's inside this little crevice here, I might need to move this around, zoom in, pan. Being able to do this without kind of thinking about it really helps. So we have a couple more ways that we can orient our model and what we might need for setting up views. So we've looked at orbiting this way, and you can see down at the bottom of the screen, it says rotating view about X and Y. So it's kind of like a free orbit. We can move it wherever we want. But what if we only wanted to be moving it along one of the axes? So we had it kind of positioned correctly in one direction. We didn't have it positioned correctly in the other, and we don't want to, mess it up. So we have a little bit more control that we can use. If we move to the top of our screen and we push down on the mouse wheel, instead of that free orbit that we have, now we're rotating view about the Z-axis. And this is the Z-axis of the screen. So if I move this, so the Z-axis is now facing up a little bit. It's not facing towards us. If I do this again, I'm not rotating around the Z-axis of the part. It's the Z-axis of the screen. But this is helpful because it won't let me rotate down, only to the side. So I can maybe position this at that angle that I needed. But what if the z-axis was correct and I needed the other axis? So I could come over to the right side of the screen, same thing, push down on the mouse wheel. But instead, now I'm rotating along the x-axis of the screen. So this is, again, not the x-axis of the model, x-axis of the screen. I can do the same at the bottom left-hand side of the screen. So being able to move these around, really helpful. Now let's say that we did need to make a design feature or a drawing or something on the inside of this part. We have this like inside lip area where we needed to draw something in there, design some feature. It'd be really difficult to be able to access it from this view here. Or maybe we just needed to check to see if it was had the correct dimensions. You know, what if we just need to see it? There's something we can do if we go to our view tab. We have edit section and then clip section. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to edit section. You can just hit that top button there and it slices our model for us. So it's automatically going to position it some way. We can move it the way that we want. We could also come over to the orientation and we can position it on the x-axis, the y-axis plane, or the z-axis plane. We could do that. We could specify a certain plane. We could create a plane. There's a lot of ways to specify the way that we want this section view to happen. There's lots of different ways that we could do it. And we could even take this arrow, move it in and out, position it correctly. But we could also just, like I said, pick an axis plane. Now, once we have this set, we say, okay. And we could come in here and do whatever we needed to. Check to see that, okay, yeah, that gap is correct. We could easily turn, once we have this set, we don't have to come back in here and set this again. See how clip section is now highlighted? We can turn that on and off just by clicking that button. So it's going to be our section view for us. Sometimes it'll happen if we have a very large model, edges of this will be gone. Has to do with just the size of the model, the frame. Sometimes we might lose the model somehow, somewhere off our screen. If any of that happens and we just need to fit the object back to our screen, we can come up here to the view tab, go to fit, and it'll bring our model back into view, and all of our edges and everything will be there. So if that happens, don't freak out, just hit the view and everything should be back to normal. If we come up here to the display, we have a bunch of things that we have access to. We can change the color of our background if you want to do the dark theme. We also have the style. Now we could change, right now we are in shaded with edges. So the part is shaded and we can see the actual detail of the edges. If we just hit shaded, we lose that edge line. Do partially shaded. Static wireframe is one that comes in handy because we get to see these inside edges of the part. The static wireframe is one that comes in handy a lot. And there's more that you might want to use, but really we go from like static wireframe to shaded with edges. Those are the ones that we typically use the most. There's a lot of things in the display up here. We could change this to see-through. Also up here we have edit object display. So if we click on edit object display, we select the object that we want to change. We're going to choose the one that we have, hit OK. Is where we can change the color, just the color that we see of the object. This doesn't really play a major role of anything other than just maybe we have a bunch of parts and we want to be able to distinguish between them. Totally up to you. But we can change the color of our part. We can also make it translucent. Go ahead and hit apply on that. Also, so the OK, apply, and cancel. OK is if we want to make the changes and then exit out of the tab. So if I just hit OK, it's going to apply the changes and then exit out. If I hit apply, it's going to make the changes, but still it's not going to close out of the tab. I can then make other changes if I wanted to. And then cancel, of course, just doesn't take into effect what you've changed. So I could change this to a purple. Okay, hit apply. It's going to change it to purple, and I'm still in the tab. Now, if we want to make this translucent, we actually change the percentage of the translucency that we have. This really comes in handy later on in the cam side of NX. That is how you can change that. And then also, you see how we've got these sketches? We've got one here. We've got the sketch that's defining the boundaries of this circle. And then we have this datum CSIS right here. We want to be able to hide these. We want to be able to, put these away so that we can't see them. We don't want to like delete them, but we just want to be able to see the solid bodies only. There's a couple of ways to do this. There's the quick way that isn't really the right way. But in a pinch, if you just want to turn it off, there's a couple of ways to do that. So if we come over here to our part navigator again, see we've got these eyes on the left side of each of the operations. If we wanted to hide the sketch, we could just click that eyeball. See how it like grays out, and now that sketch has disappeared. Same thing with that sketch. We can even do that with the datum coordinate system. They're still there. We just can't see them. I'll turn them all back on. Another way is if we go up to the Show Hide under the View tab, we can quickly show and hide all of our sketches, all of our datums. If we have a lot of different stuff, a quick way of doing this is you can hide everything and then only show the solid bodies. That works as well. All right, and I think that's all that I wanted to go over as far as this video goes. So thanks for watching.